Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome to Oriental Empires. More specifically, Oriental Empires with the Three Kingdoms DLC, which was just released hopefully today if this video goes out on time. So for those of you who have actually been with my channel for a while, you'll know that I really quite like this game. I covered this game probably a year or two ago now when it first came out as the base game, and I really enjoyed it. I never felt it really got the recognition that it kind of deserved. And it didn't really take off as much. It's kind of like a cross between Civilization and Total War, and it made a little bit of a scene at a time, but never really took off massively. And I've always enjoyed it. And sort of 6 or so months ago, they released a Genghis Khan DLC, which gave us quite a few new factions and new maps, and sort of like a new storyline campaign following the life of Genghis Khan. And that was really kind of cool. But now we've got a new DLC in the form of the Three Kingdoms DLC, which obviously has probably come at quite a good time for them with the whole Total War Three Kingdoms thing. And I thought it would kind of be interesting to take a look at it as an alternative view to obviously the Total War version, and kind of take a look what it's all about. And if you've never seen Three Kingdoms, if you've never seen Oriental Empires before, it'll kind of give you a bit of an overview of what the game's about, because it's kind of interesting. I say Civilization with some little Total War elements mixed in. So obviously there are a whole host of factions to pick from. You've got the classics, Lu Bu, Tatao, Sun Jian, Dong Zhou. Obviously he's like the emperor, or the emperor's sort of regent, as it were. Lu Bu, obviously all the classics, and you can see all their starting positions all over the map. And some of them have benefits and some of them have negatives and various different effects. So some of them start with different amounts of territory, which you get told here. You get 4 settlements with a total population value of 90. And then these get various benefits and consequences. So morale of units in battle is down, but peasant happiness, so less chance of revolts and things like that. But combat effectiveness isn't so good. And it also tells you that they're farmer people. You can get some who are like nomadic and stuff like that, which obviously adds different gameplay mechanics to it. But with it being 3 kingdoms, the bulk of them should be farmers. These are all the settled Chinese groups. So I've been playing as Tatao, and because who doesn't want to play as Tatao? And I'm kind of getting stuck into a little bit of a campaign. So we'll hop over to that now, and hopefully you can clear up a little bit of what this game actually is about. And you'll kind of get to see the map of the various factions, and the various characters, and some of the new things that have been introduced in this DLC. So I shall see you all in the campaign map. So we are in on the campaign map, and as you can see, I've got my capital here in the middle at Shenlu, and I've sort of been expanding out a little bit. I managed to capture. You only start with 1 city as Tatao. I managed to push around, capture Zhushang, and I pushed out around to Dingtao and Shen, and now sort of thinking I'm eyeing up Zhuan Sheng here. It's just held by sort of some of the Han minor officials, which is kind of just sort of representing some of Duangzhou's more minor provinces, which we can attack relatively freely. Although, of course, they are still garrisoned, and this one's actually fairly heavily walled as well, so it's going to be a relatively interesting siege trying to get hold of that. What do they have in the garrison? Trained crossbows and 2 peasant light spearmen. Nothing tremendously difficult, but still will be a little bit of a fight. So if we take a look how the actual cities work, you'll see each city is selectable, and each city kind of works a little bit like this is the more civilization type part of the game. You can kind of see that you have farms basically that you manage up and around the outside here, and you can sometimes get other interesting resources like mines, gems and things like that, which is kind of works in the same way as tile improvements in Civilization, in my opinion. It's a similar type mechanic. And you can clear woodland, build roads, and build things like quays and stuff if you want to develop more of a naval trading type element, which for now I don't. And then, of course, you can actually go into the city itself, and you'll see what options you've got to build and what's already constructed. But you've got to be a bit careful because everything in this has pretty high upkeep. It's not just a case of build loads of buildings and you'll make more money. You can build loads of buildings and you'll find yourself making a cataclysmic loss. You see, I'm making basically a 200 profit this turn. If I wanted to build something just like a regular barracks, it's 60 upkeep per turn. A crossbow maker, 65 upkeep per turn. Some of the more bigger industrial buildings, 80 for a circle river and a market. Just per turn, never mind the 1,000 cost it costs to build in the first place. So you have to be really careful with balancing your economy, because when you compare your expenses to your income, you'll see that I'm only just making a profit on this city largely down to I've got a handful of military buildings which are really kind of expensive here, and a small garrison. But if you have a decent sized garrison, you'd find I'll be making a loss in Chenlu. So it's always a bit of a balancing act between trying to get the economy to work in these. But to give you a bit of a broader scale of what sort of the size of this game, you'll see what we can see of China so far, and you'll see there are a lot of factions. And obviously we can't see every part of the map yet at the moment because we've not explored everywhere. It's just what we can see sort of from the beginning. But that's what I mean. It's quite a tough game. It's in my opinion, it's harder than the Total War Three Kingdoms game because the scale of it is just so big, and the fights are always quite challenging. So I've been having a little trouble with, well, actually the Emperor's Regent with Dongzhou. We're not directly into open hostility, but we don't like each other, and he's sent some of his people around raiding some of my farms. You can see he's got all his some of his royal bodyguards here, pretty decent quality units. He's been raiding some of my farms out of Guangdu, and I've sort of been sending a response force. Because he's in my own territory, I can attack him with actually getting into a war declaration. You'll see it could be a bit of an interesting fight because we have a few horse archers here who should hopefully not be too bad. And then we've got some proper noble cavalry along with our general over here at the back, who's pretty heavily armoured. Looks like a pretty decent unit, so he should give us a good fight. But then, making up the bulk of the ranks, such as the peasants, given a short spear and a small shield, and even worse, the peasant archers, who frankly, I don't think are going to be up to much if they get hit by a cavalry charge. So, it'll kind of be interesting to see how that pans out. And then, elsewhere in the map, you'll see I've got my army over here at Shen. My slightly larger force with some artillery, and actually Tao Tao is leading this force himself. You can see we've got some. I love these artillery. It's not a proper trebuchet. It's just a trebuchet on a long arm, but instead of having a counterweight, you just have 4 people yanking on the ropes as hard as you can. Isn't that not just brilliant? I was really quite impressed by that. I thought that was kind of cool. But these guys have recently been involved in a bit of a fight where they actually took Shen, so I've just been leaving them to heal up. You'll see the actual noble cavalry here is pretty diminished on numbers. There's only 6 of them, and there should be 15, with these being a relatively powerful unit. I kind of wanted to wait for them to heal a little bit. So anyway, that's kind of a little brief overview of kind of the campaign map. Of course, we also have things like the Royal Court. This works in the same way as the Court on Three Kingdoms in a way. You have things like, obviously, our faction leader here and his wife, Tao Tao, and his wife. I've got my heir, and then the various important people you have in court. You can see their various relationships, whether they like or hate each other. Some of them hate each other, some of them quite like each other. You can see who dislikes Tao Tao and who doesn't. You can execute people if you want to, if they displease you in some way. But obviously there are relationship consequences to doing that. Most people don't like it if you start executing vassals, because it's not really a particularly good way to ingratiate yourself as a monarch. So you've got to do that with a little bit of thought. We have quite a bit of corruption going on at the moment. I've been thinking about issuing some edicts to kind of think about countering some of this. Maybe something like a ground commandment or something like that. But there's kind of a bit of a consequence to that in terms of upkeep returns. That's something else you kind of have to balance out. So I think I've probably been waffling on for long enough. Let's end the turn and see if we can get a little bit of combat going between these two guys over here. So that's one thing that I think put some people off initially, but when you get the hang of it, it actually works quite well, is the fact that you don't directly control the combat. You have some element of control in how you want to pre-plan your units in terms of how they behave. So everyone here is just on a base attack order, so it means they attack relatively aggressively, but they will form into battle line, then they'll attack. Whereas you can set them onto different things. You can set them onto just a direct attack immediately, which makes them a bit more aggressive. So if you wanted a specific unit to be the most aggressive, say you have a particularly good hero who you want to attack straight away, you can get them to do things like that. Then say you could select your archer and you could set them onto a different type. They should have maybe a support role. Yeah, so you could have put them on like a you could put these on like a support only role, so they'll form line and then they'll try and keep out of combat, and they'll just try and fight and target enemy units where there's an opportunity to. Okay, cool. Let's hit the end turn. I know there's a stack with that in order. These guys have got an order though. Yes, so we've got a battle. So you get the total numbers involved. So you see, most of our units will try and form a battle line first because we've not got the one being hyper aggressive, and I would expect the enemy generally to do the same. So what have we got going forwards? We've got some relatively heavy cavalry going forwards initially at the start. Let's go straight in. I'm just going straight at him. Straight at him. They've got engaged quite a few people there at once though, so it's going to be kind of challenging. Our archers aren't being all that useful, probably because I can't get any clean shots. Although our horse archers are getting in. Our horse archers are throwing some arrows in at the enemy cavalry. Not tremendously usefully though, it's going to be said. These are our horse archers. Firing away, trying to throw a little bit of arrow support. And even our peasant archers have got stuck into the fight. You can see the casualties along the top. Obviously we're fighting relatively high tier cavalry units, so that's why it's kind of hard for us to do too much damage. Some of them are routing from the battle there now though, so I think it'll start to tip against them soon. Particularly as the rest of the cavalry starts to come in on the flank a little bit more. As their casualties continue to mount, I would expect them to start to rout. Hopefully. Although some of ours are routing there. So no, some of our noble cavalry are not happy about that. Okay, what's going on? Are these guys going to re-engage? They are coming in from the back. A few casualties in the initial charge. Our horse archers hopefully keeping in a bit of support. Yeah, continuing to rain arrows in on some of the enemy units. And they actually just got a kill there. Nice job, horse archers. I think our peasant spearmen weren't very happy about the whole fighting thing and have ran away. So on to the last fight, and there they go, they've routed. A few of them getting killed as they run. Good. Okay, so we actually managed to drive them off, which is exactly what we want. Okay. So, a few turns have passed since our last battle, and I'm actually preparing up to lay siege to Yuan Sheng. See, we've got our army here. This is the one army down from Shen. Most of them are healed up, apart from these noble cavalry are still a little bit below strength, but yeah, what can they do? What can you do? So I'm just going to adjust the battle plan slightly because I would rather these guys were just slightly more defensive. I think that actually is Tatal, so I don't want him to be hyper aggressive. But Zhao Zhu is quite an experienced heavy bodyguard spear hero unit, so I'm happy for him to go straight through the gates when there's an opportunity to. So yeah, that should work reasonably well for us. Let's close that. These guys should be on the offensive the whole stack, please, not just one of you. That goes to do that, and then next turn they should lay siege. It may take us a couple of turns to get through this because some of these sieges can be pretty tough going if things don't go quite according to plan. Let's set that garrison back to there as well. So let's see how things go. So while we do quite outnumber them, we're going to suffer quite a bit to these defensive towers because it's proper walls as well. Our siege is sitting a little bit close there, you might think, wouldn't you? Our siege towers trying to get in. Again, casualties are starting to rack up already because we're not yet through the walls. Some of our archers probably going to try to get in position to try and do some fire archery stuff against these guys. But with archers up on the walls, we'll have a bit of a hard time getting through here, I think. Yeah, having a really hard time. Let's fast forward a bit. Casualties are getting intense already. You can see our fire archers have been setting up on the walls, and some of the peasant militia are going to be trying to get through the gates. The casualties are already starting to rack up quite high. Because people are routing already. It might be the archers. Trying to take out some of these enemy towers here by the looks of things. We're getting some kills here in the gateway. Probably because our peasant militia is quite experienced now. These peasants have been in many of my fights, so they're pretty well versed in these combats. They've got another unit pushing behind them, but they've got another unit to bring up as well. So it kind of depends really. If we can break the hole in the end of the wall, that'd be really useful because then we'd have another opportunity to try and get through. I don't know if that's realistically going to happen. Casualties are continuing. Let's fast forward a little bit more. No, it's not going to happen this turn because you have a set period of time. But the siege shall continue. They don't get to resupply because I'm still on the attack against them. And this time this gateway is already burned down, so we can attack straight from the start. And hopefully our artillery will be able to focus on either some other towers or trying to blast a hole in the wall perhaps when they get into a little bit of a better spot. So let's wait for the next turn. Some of our routed peasants came back. No, I don't wish to go to war with them. Fractal Harmony Pact on the Yuanshu, yeah, we'll take that. That's like a non-aggression pact, pretty much. And I like you as well, you're quite nearby. No, I'm not prepared to do that. There's a lot of diplomacy this turn. No, I don't want too many. I find my attitude disappointing. Tatao's father, Tao Song, was travelling through the territory of Tao Huin to join his son's court. Provided an escort. Former Yellow Turbans who murdered, killed Castle and stole the treasure. Still holds him responsible. Okay, these are some of the storyline plots that basically go with it. I suspect in the next turn or two we'll end up with a mission to take revenge, because I'm pretty sure that's what Tata actually did in real life. So our guys should still be attacking this place, which they do. If you have a look at the battle report for the last turn, we lost 51 in total and they only lost 28. But we started with more men, and ultimately once we start to get through these gates, start to wear down these people, the trained crossbowmen won't last very well when they start getting into melee combat. So I'm still hopeful here that it will go our way. Everyone else is still building farms. We've got a silk weaver being built here. I'm risking it going for the expense of a silk weaver. So let's push straight into the next turn and carry on with our siege. So we should hopefully send troops just straight into this gateway this time. Artillery should hopefully carry on trying to blast their way through. Yeah, they're going to start trying to take down some of these towers straight away from the beginning, I think. We've got some of our archers are pushing around. They'll probably try and burn down the gates to this arrow here. These guys are going straight in. Against these peasant spearmen. I don't think there's that many of them, so maybe we'll get through there today. Starting to burn some of these towers down a bit more. These guys are starting to try to attack this element of gateway there. How is this fight in this gateway going? Still blocked up by quite a few enemies yet. We're not going to be through immediately. I think it's going to be another turn before anything happens. Looks like our peasant archers routed before they're able to burn that gateway down. So, oh, looks like we're trying to shell the walls on the other side. Nope, I think it's going to be another turn today. Even with their numbers getting so low. Stick it back on the old fast forward. Oh, we've actually lost an artillery piece as well. It's not so good, but we have got a hole in their wall on that side of the map now, so we should hopefully be able to send some troops around to try and make a bit of progress there. But end of the turn, didn't happen. No, I'm not attacking him no matter how many times you ask me. Yeah, go on then. No, not going to war with the massive Emperor's army. And Sun Jian's right on my footsteps, so I don't really want to go to war with him, at least not at the moment. Here we go. You must take vengeance for your father's murder, or you will appear weak. Capture and destroy any city belonging to Tao Huin by turn 51, or your authority will be decreased. So this is kind of the storyline element to Three Kingdoms, because it vaguely, or sort of loosely follows, obviously, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, in which Tao does go and take vengeance. I thought he did. And so Tao Huin, where would he be? Is he down here? Tao Huin. So we're now at war with Tao Huin, which is a bit unfortunate because they're right on my doorstep. And Chen is pretty much undefended. What have we got? Let's get some spearmen in the old recruitment wagon. I'm certainly going to have to think about yeah. I don't really have much in the way of amazing units. That's my biggest problem. Let's do a double recruitment here. Oh, we can have a noble. Let's have a unit of nobles and go for another unit of peasant-like spearmen. Trying to increase the garrison here at Chen to give them a better chance. But I'm still not prepared to give up my siege of Zhuansheng here. I think one more turn should do it, I'm hopeful. You see, casualties were high, but not unbearably so. We're getting closer and closer to them, and they've got not that many people left now. 138, so we should be able to smash them this turn. That's everything else I need to do. Oh, I've got some farms that need to be built. Mostly converting to irrigated farmland stuff around here. Shen's actually just building the straight out farmland. Oh, we have some technology that finished. Something else we could show you, kind of the technology trees. They're pretty extensive. There's like powercraft, thought, and knowledge, which do different things. And you can see it increases the amount of damage ships can sustain. They do different bonuses, enable you to construct different buildings. You know, or affect other things in that way. So more armor, cataphracts, value of ceramics. I do quite a lot of ceramics, so that might be kind of worth having. Just from a money point of view. So our siege continues. So hopefully this time. Oh, we've got some general's bodyguard. I think they're going for the breach in the wall, although they're going to get shot to pieces as they head round there, which is not so good. Oh, 2 of them are dead already. No. Let's stick this on fast forward. So they're pushing in there. These guys should be now pushing around here, which they are, but they are pretty outnumbered, so they might not actually pan out for them. If things get so bad for the defenders, they will just flat out surrender. But we're not really making much progress there against those guys at that part of the city. Although some casualties are starting to mount, maybe we're making a bit of a push through this gateway here, which is what we need. Let's go back onto a bit more fast forward. No, my general's done it. He's broken and he's pulled back from this breach over here. I don't think it's going to pan out for us this turn, to be honest. Yes, it has. They've defended. They've surrendered. God. If you get enough damage and their morale gets low enough, they eventually break. The city becomes yours. That's the benefit of having artillery. It'd be a very hard fight if you did not have artillery to do this. A very large Yuan show army has turned up. Hopefully they're going to be peaceful for us. So our army will now march into the city and take up a garrisoning position. Whew. Yuan show. No, I'm not going to attack Dongsho. Leave it. Oh, I don't want a fractal harmony patch with you. What a helmet he has got. It is quite a badass helmet. No. There we go. My leader has no wife. Good to know. But there we go. We have captured Zhuangsheng. Our empire is growing a little bit more. We've certainly got some pretty big fights ahead of us in terms of trying to deal with these guys at Taoqing. But that is definitely for another video. So anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this little overview of the Three Kingdoms DLC for Oriental Empires. It's certainly a game worth checking out. It's really quite enjoyable, and it's certainly got plenty of replayability. So yeah, I would recommend you go and check it out. It's well worth it. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel for lots more strategy game content, and I shall see you guys all on the next video.